seem to be getting a lot of the candidates telling us that tax cuts are affordable and, in actual fact, pay for themselves.
I think I actually rather agree with what Robert Hayward was saying. I think that the policy content of the hustings has been extremely disappointing. It's so superficial. It's sound bites, and the big issues domestically are obviously devolution, about which we've heard virtually nothing, and the European situation has been, again, the odd soundbite, the odd promises to get it done. But, you know, here we are, 6 years after the referendum and 3 years after a government that set up a minister to do and get Brexit done. All we're getting is more assertions of getting Brexit done. The country is not being asked to face the consequences of Brexit, which, in my view, are disastrous. But no, because of the electoral system that we're now dealing with, what you see in all the candidates is an extraordinary caution, because, first of all, they've got to try and get their colleagues in the House of Commons to vote for them. But they know that if they're successful in that, there is an electorate out there which represents a tiny fraction of the Conservative vote, a rather elderly fraction, and a rather right-wing faction. So if you're trying to win this battle, you are very constrained in your ability to widen or deepen the debate.
But we have then candidates, as I mentioned, in terms of the offering on low taxation. It's part of that, and I suppose it goes back to the getting Brexit fully done, or we're now talking about, from their point of view, the opportunities of Brexit as they see it, which is the ability to introduce light regulation, low taxation, and a much smaller state. But of course, the British public have shown an appetite for robust public services and high spending on those, certainly during the course of the pandemic.
Well, look, I fully understand the desire to have lower taxes. But before I vote for lower taxes, I want to be told what the body politic is going to cut. Who's going to suffer? Or the alternative, are we just going to shove the bill onto another generation, more borrowing? And what do we say to all those people with mortgages who are going to find interest rates rising and rising even further because we've actually borrowed more money when we haven't got it? So as no answers to these questions emerge from the hustings, look, I can say whatever you like about cut this, do that, swap that. But when I was involved in a debate for the leadership, we didn't have these very superficial contests. What we had was an in-depth discussion with qualified journalists one-on-one. So you've got a much deeper probing into what John and Douglas and I actually believed. And there was another advantage about that, is that if I have one memory of that particular election in 1990, it was not a bitter word from one end of it to the other. And so when we all joined John's government, the immediate result was over, there was no bitterness. There was no feeling, oh, God, I'll get him, or things like that. We went in as colleagues and as friends and remained so throughout the period of the government.
And Lord Heseltine, staying with that experience, extensive experience of government at the very highest levels, I mean, you governed through at least 2 severe recessions. It seems we could be facing yet another one, certainly some severe economic difficulties. Do you see any of the candidates now facing up to that reality and perhaps having the qualities to take us through them?
Well, look, let's deal with that second part of the question. Those are the candidates we've got. One of them is going to be Prime Minister, so get used to it. The question is, are they facing the truth to the British people? And I have to say that I don't think Britain are being told the truth about, first of all, the disaster of Brexit, the 1 million people have gone home. We've got endless empty jobs. We've got shortages. We've got queues. And the desperate need for people to fill them. And there's no reason to believe that that's going to be magicked into a solution. We have a very serious inflationary problem. We have borrowing at levels that are frightening. We have the prospect of interest rates going up and therefore even more pressure on people. And the truth of the matter is that no government can actually do more than tinker at the fringe of this problem. The British people are going to see a serious reduction in their living standards over the next 12 months. And there's nothing any government can do to avoid that except tinker at the edge. And that will not change public opinion.
And do you have a preferred candidate, Lord Heseltine?
Look, I have a certain reputation on certain issues. And the last thing I want to do is to prejudice anybody's choices by putting my name alongside theirs.
Lord Heseltine, always good talking to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Michael Heseltine there with his analysis of the challenges facing the next Prime Minister, which we'll learn more about in 4 or 5 minutes' time. Just to tell you, if you scan the QR code on your screen, you can see it there, you can listen to today's Sky News Daily podcast. Well, our Deputy Political Editor, Sam Coates, has been speaking to a clutch of Conservative MPs about Boris Johnson's time as Prime Minister and his legacy. You can subscribe to the daily podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. So 5 or 6 minutes to go until we get the results there in that committee room. The chair of the Backbench 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. If you've been following the previous 2 ballot results, you'll be aware how it's done. He, alongside the committee of the 1922, come out very briefly and announce in alphabetical order the number of votes cast for the 5 candidates. At the end of that process, the candidate with the lowest number of votes will be eliminated. There was originally a hurdle of at least 30 MPs. That's gone. Just whoever has the fewest votes from their fellow MPs will go. And then there will be 4. Well, our political editor, Beth Rigby, anticipating that result, is in Parliament's central lobby right now. So, Beth, set the scene for us.
Well, Dermot, this is the 3rd round in this leadership ballot. We should have the answer of who is going to be in the final 2 within the next 48 hours. But my goodness, it's going to be one hell of a battle before then. What are we looking for tonight? Well, there's a wide expectation here that Tom Tugendhat will get knocked out tonight. He lost votes in the last round. He went from 37 to 32. So we're looking to see if he'll bleed more votes tonight. Will some of them go over to Penny Mordaunt to try and give her a boost tonight? So Tom Tugendhat expected to be knocked out tonight. But then what else are we looking for? Well, Suella Braverman, you know, she got knocked out in round 2. She has 27 votes. She has publicly endorsed Liz Truss and asked her backers to get behind the Foreign Secretary. So we're looking to see where Liz Truss can go tonight. Has she got momentum? I spoke to one person on her camp, in her camp earlier today, and they said at these later stages it's really important that Liz Truss shows momentum. It matters now in these final ballots as to where she's picking up the votes, and they hope that they'll see some momentum from their candidate tonight. But watch too to see how Kemi Badenoch does some of the Braverman votes split for her. She was on 49 votes in the last round. Liz Truss, I think, was on 64 from memory, or 65, and then Penny Mordaunt out ahead of them at 83. What about Rishi Sunak? He was on 101. I'm told from those in his camp that he's not expecting to make many gains tonight, given that Suella Braverman's supporters are not likely to break for Rishi Sunak. But can he tick up to that 120 mark? That's the magic number that you need to get into the final 2. So all exciting here to see how how it breaks out tonight. Liz Truss will be looking for momentum. Penny Mordaunt will want to hold second position. Rishi Sunak will want to put on some votes. And what happens with Kemi Badenoch, it's all very unpredictable. It's all very exciting. And I can't wait to find out the results, actually.
Well, not long to wait, Beth. Beth, how has the bad blood, which we saw exhibited in some of the television debates, how has that been playing out amongst the electorate, i.e. Conservative MPs?
Yeah, there has been some real blue-on-blue infighting in this increasingly bitter divides between the candidates, really taking shot and aim at each other last night in that ITV debate, which... Why does it matter? Well, for other cabinet ministers to criticise colleagues or to criticise their economic policies, it really is quite damaging for the government more widely to see colleagues publicly denouncing policies and strategies of the government that has been, as we know, in power for the past 12 years. So it's been pretty unpleasant. I think that behind the scenes, some candidates have been asking their supporters to dial it down a bit. But I have to say, Dermot, this is a bitter battle. The party is riven by divisions. You're seeing it playing out in some of the pot shots that candidates are taking at each other. And it's not going to ease off, because once they get through this final round, whoever's in the runoff, they've got another few weeks of campaigning where they're going to go around hustings and have to put different versions of conservatism and their vision for the future to members of the party in order to try and secure enough votes to become the Prime Minister. So I don't think this blue-on-blue fighting is going to end anytime soon.
OK, Beth, I'm going to pause it there because it is approaching 8 o'clock, and normally Sir Graham Brady, certainly in the previous two rounds, has been right on time with his announcement. As it turns 8 o'clock, I will welcome viewers to Sky News who are just joining us. All our eyes on that committee room in the heart of the Houses of Parliament, where we await the chairman of the 1922 Backbench Committee, Sir Graham Brady, to emerge with the results of the third round of balloting of Conservative MPs on who should replace Boris Johnson as leader of the party and therefore become the Prime Minister. 5 MPs, 5 candidates left in the race, led by Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor. In second place after the second ballot, Penny Mordaunt, Trade Minister, Liz Truss, the Foreign Secretary, on 64, and Kemi Badenoch on 49, Tom Tugendhat on 32. Let's listen in to Sir Graham.
I have the results of the third ballot. 357 votes were cast out of a possible total of 358. I'll again read the name of the candidate and the number of votes cast in alphabetical order. Badenoch, 58. Mordaunt, 82. Sunak, 115. Truss, 71. Tugendhat, 31. So Tom Tugendhat is eliminated from the election. The other candidates are able to go forward to a fourth ballot, which will take place tomorrow between 1 and 3 p.m, with the results announced at 4 p.m. Thank you very much.
Well, there we are, the results of the third round of polling in the Conservative leadership race, and very, very interesting indeed. Rishi Sunak has increased his share of Conservative MPs from 101 to 115. Penny Mordaunt stays in second place, but actually lost one vote. She's now on 82, having achieved 83 in the previous round. Liz Truss has gone up by 7, from 64 to 71. Kemi Badenoch has gone up by 9, from 49 to 58. Tom Tugendhat lost another vote, just above 30, which had been the hurdle to pass. Not anymore. If you finish bottom, you're out. And as you can see there, Tom Tugendhat is ejected, as announced by Sir Graham there. And the next round, the fourth round of polling, it's pretty relentless this now until they get down to the last two, will take place between 1 and 3 tomorrow afternoon, with the result announced at 4 p.m. So make a note of that for the next stage of this fascinating race. Let's get reaction again from our political editor, Beth Rigby. So, Beth, I mean, Rishi Sunak there continuing to to build just below the 120 that would have got him through automatically. But Penny Mordaunt dropped a vote.
Yeah, look, Dermot, what's interesting about these results is the person who's showing the most momentum is actually Rishi Sunak. And given that it was Suella Braverman, who is on the right of the party, an arch Brexiteer, not necessarily the sort of backers that would fall into the Rishi Sunak column, his team will be very pleased with that. And now he's just 5 votes off getting to the final 2. Tom Tugendhat eliminated. Again, he lost a vote, so he didn't put any on. He didn't lose loads, though, but he's eliminated. But as you said, Dermot, Penny Mordaunt, you didn't expect Penny Mordaunt really to pick up votes from Suella Braverman either, but for her to lose a vote here, that is not showing the momentum that her team would want, and she will be disappointed with that. She will be hoping to recover with some Tom Tugendhat votes coming her way. But then Liz Truss too. I mean, Liz Truss, if this is a moment of momentum, she's put on 7 votes. Kemi Badenoch did better than that. She's put on 9 votes. So Kemi Badenoch actually doing better there than Liz Truss. So really now you have Mordaunt and Truss really slogging it out for that second spot. Neither of them will be particularly happy with that performance. Liz Truss slightly closing the gap on Penny Mordaunt, but there's still 11 votes between them. And let's see where the Tom Tugendhat votes go in the next round, because as one of Mordaunt's supporters said to me earlier today, they think that they will split between Rishi Sunak and Penny Mordaunt. If that happens, Rishi Sunak is pretty much now nailed on for the final 2, and it's going to be an absolute vicious battle between Mordaunt and Liz Truss to get through. And in fact, can I carry on, Dermot, because I've got George Freeman here, who is on Penny Mordaunt's team. Where do you want me to go, Alex? Shall I go? If you could go there, George, let me move around. Sorry, are we? Oh, Ian, do you want to come on as well? Or do you want to come on together? Okay, okay. George, Penny's dropped a vote. You must be really disappointed.
No, I think she's held, hasn't she? But
She's dropped a vote. She's gone backwards.
But after the 3 days pounding she's had in the media, to be honest, I'm delighted that she's held second place. I mean, nobody has been attacked so savagely in the last 3 days in the Tory press than Penny Mordaunt, and her support is strong. I think the story tonight is actually Kemi Badenoch is becoming the heroine on the right. She's picked up a lot of votes, and she's picked up 9 votes, and Liz has picked up 7. And Tom Tugendhat is out, and I think what you'll see now is a lot of that One Nation support base for Tom Tugendhat. A great man. I helped set up the One Nation caucus. I think a lot of them will come to Penny as the One Nation compassionate Conservative.
George, to be honest, it's not just the attacks on Penny. She's not had a great weekend, has she? She's been pretty lacklustre in the debate. She's not really impressing in the way that she needs to keep momentum.
I don't think so. I think if you look at the 2 debates, I thought particularly the second last night, the first, she was in the teeth of a very, very big media storm, but I thought last night she was very powerful. The polling suggested that. She's still leading, key point, in the marginal seats around the country, and down in the southwest, in the northern red wall seats around Scotland, Northern Ireland. She's presented herself as a unity candidate to stop the squabbling. She's cabinet grade, but a fresh face. I think there's a lot more support for Penny Mordaunt in the country than this vote reveals.
Just final question, George. She's got 82. Tom's got 31 votes. Even if she picks up all of Tom's votes, which she won't, she hasn't got enough to get to the final 2. And Badenoch votes are not going to break for Penny Mordaunt, are they? I mean, Badenoch has made it really clear in all the debates that the person she really doesn't want is Penny Mordaunt.
Well, I don't know that you're right about that necessarily, Beth. I think there's a very fluid vote. The days where each person carried all their supporters is long gone. I suspect the Tom Tugendhat vote will come strongly over to Penny as the One Nation Brexiteer, and I think Penny and Tom on a ticket together would be very real and very authentic. Quite a lot of
conversation. Have you had any conversations with Tom Tugendhat? Has the team?
I haven't. Penny's talking to all candidates, I know. But I think a lot of...
Is she trying to do a deal with him now?
There are lots of conversations going on, but Kemi's supporters...
That's a yes.
...have said to me, Kemi's supporters have said, listen, we want change. Tom has said we want change. Well, you can't have Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. I think Rishi is clearly the class act. He's up there as the one to beat. We're now fighting for the second ticket, and I think Penny Mordaunt is the obvious person. She's a woman, she's an authentic Brexiteer, unlike Liz Truss. She's an enterprise Tory, she's run her own business, she's strong on defence, she can pick up the international brief, and I think she and Rishi would be a very strong ticket this summer.
It'll be a tough 48 hours, isn't it?
Very tough. And for your viewers, probably, I hope it's fun to watch. It's not much fun being in it. But we're fighting here over something very important, the heart and soul of the future of the Conservative Party. And Penny Mordaunt is fighting for a positive, aspirational, liberal Britain, for a post-Brexit Britain that goes forward, not back.
All right, George Freeman, thanks so much. Thanks for coming on Sky News. So there you have it, the verdict from George Freeman, who is backing Penny Mordaunt. He thinks dropping one vote is OK, hoping to pick up more votes from Tom Tugendhat. The sense I get is obviously trying to do a deal with Tom Tugendhat, see if he can get him onto Penny's team. She's going to have a hell of a battle to get through to the final two. It's going to be a real race between her and Liz Truss, neither of whom really are breaking away from each other right now. The only winner really in all of this tonight, I would say, is Rishi Sunak. He's now 5 votes off the magic 120 to get through to the final two.
All right, Beth, thanks so much for the analysis. Our political editor, Beth Rigby, there in Parliament's central lobby. Well, after that vote, let's just remind you of the next steps in the Conservative leadership race. As Beth was saying there, the votes are coming thick and fast now over the next 2 days to whittle it down to the final two. So tomorrow, a 4th round of voting. You heard Sir Graham Brady announce that at 3 p.m. Between 1 and 3. Voting closes at 3. The announcement will be at 4 o'clock, and that will take us down, if somebody hasn't pulled out already, to 3. Then on Wednesday, the last round of MPs voting will produce the final 2 candidates. Then on Thursday, MPs break for the summer holidays, the parliamentary recess, and it's then over to the party's 200,000 members or so to select the winner. The next Prime Minister will be named on September the 5th, when Parliament returns from that recess. And, of course, the leadership contest, to feature in tomorrow's papers alongside the weather. We'll have our press preview and news review at 10:30 this evening with tonight's news and tomorrow's headlines. Joining us will be the political editor of the Daily Mirror, Pippa Crerar, and the Home Affairs editor with the Times, Matt Dathan. OK, well, we'll get more reaction to that result. Rishi Sunak just 5 votes short. If you get 120 MPs supporting you, you are automatically through to that next round, the round when the membership of the Conservative Party decide who is going to be the next leader. Rishi Sunak on 115, all the other candidates still below 100. Let's look at the day's other news now. And, of course, the temperatures affecting most of the United Kingdom still extremely high and are going to remain so overnight after much of Britain endured day 1 of the first ever red extreme heat weather warning. The UK record was nearly broken and a new one was set for Wales. The runway at Luton Airport was affected by the heat, grounding all flights and causing many others to be diverted for several hours. And a 16-year-old boy became the 4th person in this heatwave to die after drowning in a lake in Berkshire. Well, this is where the temperatures peaked in the UK today. In England, the hottest temperature has been recorded in Santon Downham in Suffolk, 38.1 degrees, just over half a degree off the all-time record. Wales recorded its hottest day since records began, 37.1 degrees recorded at Harden Airport in Flintshire. In Scotland, temperatures hit 31.3 degrees in Aberdeenshire. And Northern Ireland had its hottest day of the year so far. Temperatures rose to 31.1 degrees in Derrylin in County Fermanagh. Now, let's get more on that 3rd round of voting in the Conservative Party leadership contest. As I was just telling you, Rishi Sunak, the clear leader. Our political editor, Beth Rigby, as you know, is in Parliament's central lobby with a former leader, Beth.
Yes, that's right. I've got Ian Duncan-Smith with me, who's backing Liz Truss. Ian, that's not quite the momentum, is it, that you needed tonight? I mean, a bit disappointing. I mean, Suella Braverman came over to Liz Truss. She urged her backers to support her. 27 votes up for grabs. Liz took 7. I mean, that's bad.
Well, it's not bad at all. This is all about momentum. Liz Truss has gone forward. Penny has stalled and gone backwards. Kemi's gone forward as well. But the point is that, hold on a second, you've got to understand how these things work. What happens is, in this round, those that go forward will be the ones that benefit in the next round. And And Liz is definitely in that. She's in prime position to do that. Because there are still a lot of votes sitting there that are likely to come to Liz at some point once this is settled.
You would have preferred her to do a bit better than that. Come on, Ian.
No. I'm completely content as to where she is. She's gone forward. She's
Content, but not really happy.
No, because this round is about moving day for tomorrow. In other words, people make their final decision about who they really want to take through to the final round tomorrow, because there are still now 4 people in this race.
Kemi Badenoch put on more votes than Liz Truss.
A lot of people went to Kemi because they wanted to stop Penny. Now they have to make a decision as to who they want to vote for.
Or maybe they prefer Kemi to Liz.
Well, you'll always get this is a competition, just in case you hadn't noticed. And Liz is the one that is still out there in third place. She's had real momentum going forward, and the reality is all the others are now trailing her. And interestingly, Penny has made no progress, and that's a very big part of this. So there's momentum for Liz. She'll do well tomorrow when this all starts to form up.
What's your message to those that are backing Kemi Badenoch over Liz Truss?
Well, my view is very simply this. It's time for them to come together with Liz and to get on so that Liz ends up on that final round. Whether it's against Rishi or Penny or anybody else, it's really time for us to establish that position. Because at the moment, what's happening is the votes are dividing across to people. But Liz has got the momentum. She's in third place, and she will maintain that momentum tomorrow.
Penny Mordaunt's camp would argue that given that it was Suella Braverman that dropped out and she is on the right of the party, that she is a candidate where those votes would always break for Truss. Indeed, Suella Braverman publicly backed Truss, whereas now Tom Tugendhat's out, a One Nation Conservative. That's going to benefit Penny going into the next round, isn't it?
I wouldn't make too many observations. People vote for different reasons. You say...
Come on, Ian. Come on.
I've done 7 of these, all right? I don't think you have. I've run 2 campaigns. And I fought one and won one myself, okay? So let's be very clear. I do know what I'm talking about on this. The key is that you have momentum going into this particular round before you get to the final 2 rounds. Momentum is critical. You have to have that. And Liz has got momentum. Yes, Kemi got votes as well, and she's got some momentum, but the key test now is who is in third place, and that is Liz Truss. This is a very important place to be for this contest, and Penny is stalling. So this is still open, and I believe Liz is in the right place to do this. This round was always about maintaining your position with some momentum. She's done that. And then for the next round, when you see it breaks again, it's time to make those decisions about who you want to go into the second round. And I believe that Kemi's team will come over to Liz.
Just finally then, your message to Kemi Badenoch supporters tonight is please come over to Liz in the next round if you want to stop Mordaunt.
I'm not begging anybody to do anything. I'm simply saying to them they have to make a decision about who they want to go into that round. At the moment, Rishi Sunak is in the lead, although he still hasn't made it across the line, which we were told he would do with ease. But it now is up to them as to whether or not they want Liz and co to go across into that place that fights the election in the country.
Ian, final question. Are you 100% sure that your candidate will make the final 2?
Absolutely. That's why I'm supporting her. She's the only one that's got the credentials in government. The nature of what she's done for the Ukraine and also for the Northern Ireland Protocol, all the trade deals she delivers in government. So I want her to go through because it's her record that impresses me.
Ian, thanks so much for joining us on Sky News. Dermot, if you'll indulge me, I've also got Mark Harper here, if I could have a quick word with him. He, of course, is a former chief whip himself and is on Team Sunak. Mark, your guy's nearly over the line.
Well, look, I think that was a good result for us today. This was potentially our most difficult ballot because obviously the candidate that got knocked out last week, Suella Braverman, given her particular pitch that she was making to colleagues, we didn't really anticipate getting very many, if any, of her supporters. So to go up by 14, the biggest jump of any of the candidates today, I think it's a very solid result for Rishi. I suspect it's because we've had 2 debates now. Colleagues will have looked at those debates. They'll have seen a man across the detail, ready to be Prime Minister, and able to take us to a general election victory in 2 years' time after a period of solid, competent government. And I think that's why they'll have supported him.
I mean, he now looks pretty nailed on to get to the final 2. That's fair, isn't it?
Well, look, we're not going to, as we've done all the way through, we're optimistic, but we're not going to take a single thing for granted. We're going to work for every vote from every colleague between now and Wednesday. But look, the results so far are very promising.
And Mark, when you look at the results in the round, Ian Duncan-Smith there saying that Liz has momentum. She's put on 7 votes. Kemi Badenoch put on 9. Penny Mordaunt dropped back 1. How's it shaking out the wider race?
Well, look, I think I'll let other candidates make the particular remarks about their own candidate's performance. But if you look at where the votes went, Rishi was up 14. That was a stronger performance than any other candidate at a time when the votes that were freed up by Suella exiting the contest were very unlikely to come his way. So I think a very solid performance. I think based on those fantastic performances in the 2 debates, he's going to keep making his arguments to colleagues. I hope we get a really good result tomorrow and also on Wednesday.
Okay. Well, look, thank you very much. Thank you. I think, Dermot, if you don't mind, I've also got Anne-Marie Trevelyan here, who was instrumental in Tom Tugendhat's campaign. He's gone.
Yes, we are sad to see Tom go out, but he has been able to present a fantastic both policy agenda and for the country and, of course, our Tory MPs and members to get to know him better. A man with incredible integrity, leadership skills, and he will be part of the future of the Conservative Party. I know it's been lovely to see both him and indeed Kemi set out that vision, the next generation, if you like, of the Conservatives' values and ideals. And I know that overnight Tom will consider where we as a group want to go. He will want those votes that we bring to be with the candidate who is most likely to support his policy agenda.
Praise for Kemi Badenoch as well as Tom Tugendhat there, but no praise for the woman that actually works for you in your department, Penny Mordaunt.
So all the candidates bring their own fantastic qualities, and I think anyone who's willing to set themselves up to stand as Prime Ministerial candidate is incredibly brave and has enormous respect from me. And I look forward to seeing both how we progress this as MPs this week, but then also sending the 2 to the country. And I know that that's really important because there we get what you might call the common sense that regional variations, certainly my members have been sending messages to me, and they are not all the same. Many have been very supportive of Tom, but many see others, particularly Rishi, as a solution.
On the radio, though, this morning, I think I'm right in saying that you'd made a remark that often in your department, Penny was nowhere to be seen when decisions were having to be made and other people had to pick up her work.
So the issue I raised, I was asked on LBC this morning whether I agreed with Lord Frost's assessment, and what I set out was that there had been a number of issues. I've always said, Beth, that I would never, ever lie as a politician. I always want to give a straight answer. If you ask me a straight question, I will always do my best to give a straight answer. And therefore, the answer was, I would agree, Lord Frost, in that there have been times over the last few months where Penny has not been able to meet some of the issues which were her departmental remit, if you like, and we have therefore had to backfill with other ministers. I am completely respectful of the fact that any minister does their work in their own way. We are all MPs first, and that's really important, really important. So where we have other constituency pressures and indeed other issues that are important to us, ministers fit their whole portfolio together. That's really important to understand. But it has been the case, and I answered the question honestly, that in the last few months there have been a number of times when Penny has not been able to pick up what would have been her departmental duties.
So just to be clear, the Lord Frost, those sort of issues around competence, they do resonate with you about Penny Mordaunt?
So the challenge is only in our case in DIT has been that she has in a number of situations not been available to take up the work that was required in a number of ways, be it visits or in parliamentary duties.
Okay, so you won't back her in the next round?
We will, Tom and the team, we will be travelling, I think, as a pack. So we will look very closely, I think, mostly at the policy areas. It's really important to Tom and to all of us that those key areas, thinking about what the Prime Minister has called levelling up and what Tom thinks of as that reaching out to every town and city in the country, and the importance of that union commitment. Tom's passion for the union is one that I think we all feel alongside him.
The reason I ask, Anne-Marie, is that Penny Mordaunt is has positioned herself as a one-nation Conservative, as has Tom Tugendhat. So if you look across the remaining candidates, you might think policy-wise, politically, Penny might be the most natural, successor to Tom in terms of the values of the party. Is that fair?
So I think Tom has set out an incredibly detailed and broad-ranging policy agenda, and other candidates have done that to a lesser or greater degree. So it will be for all of us to think overnight after we've had a nice cool drink, because it is very hot here in Westminster this evening, to think about where we feel and who we feel is the right candidate for us to take through to the next round. Of course, that's just the next stage. Then we'll have another one, and then it'll be up to the members to decide.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for taking some time to talk to me. Sorry, Dermot, hogging the show there. Apologies, but everyone came at once. So that's Anne-Marie Trevelyan there. I mean, repeating what she said earlier today, that there were some issues around competence with Penny Mordaunt in her department. She's the Secretary of State, Penny Mordaunt, one of her ministers. So that's hardly an endorsement there from Anne-Marie Trevelyan, saying there that Tom Tugendhat and his group, band of followers, 31 of them, haven't yet decided where to put their vote. Mordaunt will hope to pick some up, so too will Sunak. I imagine that Sunak will be through to the final two in the round tomorrow.
All right, Beth, much more to discuss then. Thank you very much indeed. Sterling work. Our political editor, Beth Rigby, there in the heart of Parliament in the central lobby. And let's just take you through, if you are just joining us or haven't fully absorbed it all, the results of the third round ballots of Conservative MPs in the Conservative leadership race. Well, there we have the ins and the outs. There were 5 going into today's ballots. At the bottom finished Tom Tugendhat. He got 31 votes, one fewer than he actually got in the second round. He's therefore ejected just for simply having the lowest number of votes. The other results, Kemi Badenoch on 58. Going up then, Liz Truss on 71. Penny Mordaunt on 82. The front runners then, Penny Mordaunt and Rishi Sunak on 115. But interestingly, Penny Mordaunt there on 82 is down one from the 83 she garnered in the second round. Rishi Sunak on 115 is 14 more than he got in the second round. The magic number to be guaranteed to make it through into the final two is 120. So Rishi Sunak just 5 short of that going into the fourth round tomorrow, voting taking place between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. The results announced at 4, just 5 short of hitting 120 and therefore making it through into the final two. Then the gloves are off between the other 3 to join him, if it should be Rishi Sunak making it across the line first. You're watching Sky News Tonight. Coming up, more on the extreme heat, including how it is connected to the climate emergency.
I'm Stuart Ramsey, and I'm Sky's chief correspondent.
It's really desperate. That is actually the sort of pretty much hopeless column. We saw snatch squads going in, grabbing people.
You either live and recover, or you die.
Okay, so that's like a war.
That's the war.
We help you understand the world with us. Over the past 24 hours, the soldiers have been attacked on a number of occasions.
It's really sending a clear message that Venezuela is eager for change.
Take you to the heart of stories that shape our world. They were convinced the United States would become hooked. Well, they were right.
An enormous explosion has just come down. It's not out of control, but they've withdrawn. It's so hot.
The plan is to take the political temperature midweek. So we'll be discussing the biggest stories of the week so far, talking about what's still to come, having a look at Prime Minister's questions, of course, and getting a reaction from politicians, plus our very own viewers. And we'll have analysis from my Sky News colleagues.
The Take with Sophie Rich on Sky News.
I'm Yvan Bourgnon, I'm a sailor. I spent half time of my life on the sea. We have a factory who can convert this plastic to energy. And so after, at the end, we can minimize the footprint carbon of the boat.
Some breaking news concerning the weather, and a 14-year-old boy is missing and believed to have drowned after swimming in the Thames in Richmond today. Police were alerted by the London Ambulance Service to reports that a child had been seen entering the water at Tags Island in Hampton. And earlier today, a 16-year-old boy became the fourth person to die in this heatwave after drowning in a lake in Berkshire. Well, our technology and science editor, Tom Clark, has been looking at events nationwide on a day that saw temperatures peak.
In this heat, fire is almost an inevitability. A blaze at Lickey Hills in Worcestershire has covered nearly half a square kilometre, with 4 fire crews working to stop it spreading more. Further south, it's been hotter still, with temperatures exceeding 38 degrees in some places. Cambridge holds the UK heat record set here in 2019. It was only a degree below that today. The local museum has opened its doors to allow visitors some respite from the heat that this town never experienced before the 21st century.
It feels like a wall of heat.
Is it nice to be in here out of the heat?
Yes, it is.
In the surrounding countryside, they were harvesting in the early hours, but in this heat, they're heading in. The wheat is so dry, they're losing around £50 on every hectare gathered. Already, some parts of the UK have seen temperatures higher than they have ever seen before. And with climate change pushing up average temperatures, heat waves like this are only becoming more frequent and are going to continue to do so in future. That's already changing the way we live and how we work.
I've been working on the farm about 12 years. In my mind, harvest finishes at the end of August, beginning of September, but actually more and more recently we've been having it finishing in early August. It's not out of the question this year that we'll finish in July. Already in the last few years we've seen things changing significantly.
Extreme heat like this is driven by large-scale weather patterns, but average temperatures are set to continue to rise for decades, increasing the risks.
In our climate here in the UK, there is a place for enjoying fine summer weather, but situations like we're experiencing this week is not that case. So this is a severe and extreme weather event that people need to take action and respond to. And climate change is making this type of weather more likely to occur.
In Stockport, volunteers were taking food parcels to those advised not to venture out in this potentially deadly weather.
Thank you very much, sir. I've plenty of water today. Yeah, thanks very much. Okay. Yeah, thanks very much.
Really hot, extremely hot, unbearably hot, to be honest. Also, I've got a walker sick, I can't really walk very far, so I'm like pretty much isolated in it, so I'm just sitting here in the stifling heat, to be honest.
A boy of 16 died after getting into difficulty in Bray Lake near Maidenhead in Berkshire, the fourth person to drown in the heatwave so far. Calls to London Ambulance Service were already up 30% due to last week's heat. Not surprisingly, they're seeing even more calls now.
Extra resource has been put in place. The contingency plans that are well established have been activated, and we're meeting regularly with NHS leaders, with ambulance chief execs, to closely monitor the impacts, and particularly the handover times, so we can mitigate those with the increased pressure they're facing.
Even after sunset, it's expected to remain close to 30 in many places, an uncomfortable night ahead of tomorrow when temperatures are forecast to exceed 40 degrees, bringing a new chapter to the UK's climate history. Tom Clark, Sky News, Cambridgeshire.
And this is Sky News Tonight. Coming up, are we about to start seeing heat waves like this one far more often? And why a new book about Harry and Meghan is threatening to overshadow the work of the Prince as he gives a speech to the United Nations. You're watching Sky News tonight. The top stories this hour, and the UK has experienced its first day of a red extreme heat warning, with temperatures reaching more than 38 degrees. A new record was set in Wales for its hottest day ever, with a temperature of 37.1 degrees in Harden in Flintshire. And wildfires are burning in Spain, Portugal and France. Temperatures have exceeded 42 degrees in some places. Well, one economics expert told Sky News today that the UK needs to change how it thinks about itself, and that it is no longer a cold country. While this week might feel exceptional, a rise in baseline global temperatures could see phenomena like this one occurring much more regularly. Our climate correspondent Hannah Thomas-Peter reports now on how the heatwave is connected to the climate emergency.
At Reading University's Atmospheric Observatory, they have been measuring the temperature every day at 10 a.m. since 1908. There are few places better equipped to track what's happening as climate change drives increasingly frequent and severe heat events.
And then there's also another one over there.
Researcher Chloe Brimacombe tells me that rising baseline temperatures are magnifying the intensity of heat waves, with trapped high-pressure air and drier, hotter ground driving a feedback loop that acts like an oven.